All right, everybody, move, think, smile. All you integrative and functional practitioners. First, we want to say Happy New Year. And what we're doing here is Ella and I have been sitting back and we've been thinking, and we actually did a training with our clients this morning on, well, how to empower people to buy. And we're like, you know what? This would be a really great gift to give everybody because we really want everybody following Move, Think, Smile, who've been following Ella and I to win big in 2024. As you know, our whole motto is to tip the scales from sickness to wellness and to make this world a healthier place by getting to the root cause of disease and dysfunction, specifically lifestyle problems, chronic lifestyle problems.
Yeah.
So what we're doing here is we are going to give you a very, very, very detailed training on sales psychology and why people buy what they do. And I think you're going to find it extremely powerful because when we went through this with our own sales team the other day, Elea, what were the results of that? Like they were just like, what?
Yeah, it's so important, when it comes to the skill set of sales is to constantly be, I guess, keeping, sharpening the sword, as they say. And so it can be really easy when you're selling your services, your products, your transformational programs, all this stuff to kind of fall into ruts when it comes into the conversations that you're having with potential clients. And so it's really important to look at and remind yourself the powerful aspects of sales psychology to really help bolster your revenue for the new year.
And that's what it's about. This is all about having an impact. So if you haven't heard this term before, this is about impact-driven profit systems. What that means is, number one, the people that you're serving, you're helping are actually, well, their lives are changing and you're saving a ton of money in the process, huge impact, while your company is very healthy, has a really great profit margin, and you're adding 6 figures to the bottom line. So without further ado, Ellie, let's just jump into this thing.
Yeah.
And let's kind of share the document and the notes that we did this morning. So this is all about, like I said, empowering people to buy. And I think the difference that we really need to highlight here when it comes to sales, because that's what we're talking about. And as much as people really don't like the term sales, if you're going to work in a job, there are sales involved. You might not be directly involved with it, but in order to get a paycheck, somebody is selling something to pay you.
Mm-hmm.
So this is really, really important. The difference between the sales as most people know it is that it's something that's done to them. Right? Sales is done to them instead of being empowered to make the decision for myself. So this is a psychological component of what we do here at Move, Think, Smile. Now, Elliot, when you think of sales, what's the first thing that kind of pops into your head?
Well, for me, it is how can I be of service? But for a lot of the clients that we work with, it's either a feeling of it feels kind of slimy, or it's, oh, I'm good with my sales. I am able to enroll people into my services, but it's not quite at the level that they want, or they're not really sure how to even make it better.
Exactly. And so the reason that we're really focusing on sales, starting off the year in January, is because when we look at a business, we take a functional approach to business. So the best way to explain that is, if you've been following us, you're probably a holistic practitioner. You're into functional medicine, integrative health, all that fun stuff, right? Root cause resolution. And when a patient or client comes to you, most of you, at least in my experience, practice bioindividuality. That means what might be food for one could be poison for another person. So you don't give everybody exactly the same diet. You don't tell everybody to do the same exercise program. You don't, it's individualized, it's customized. But we see so many businesses out there using a one-size-fits-all strategy to try and grow things. And what we're doing here is we're breaking things down. So when we look at structure, LA, structure is really about, like I said, setting up the business so people are getting amazing results with their health, but then the business is healthy too. Would you agree?
Yeah, structure when we work with businesses is all about, well, we talk a lot about time and the ability to break through time constraints when we talk about structure.
Yeah. Structure is setting that thing up so you're having major impact. And then there's messaging, and messaging is all about communicating your true impact, your true value. So anything you say or in a conversation or write in an ad or a post or an email or something like that, people are like, oh my gosh, that's exactly what I need. And they want to talk to you, right? Then there's marketing, and that is, where do you put the message? And I think, Elia, that the most people that we talk to, most of the clients that we work with, they think they have a marketing constraint. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I think a lot of people think they have a marketing constraint, and the power of moving your growth along as quickly as possible is actually IDing the right problem, just like when we're navigating someone's health and actually looking at what the real problem is.
Yeah. And the way I look at it is, if you are doing marketing, you don't have a marketing constraint. If you're not doing marketing, you have a marketing problem. You're not marketing. If you're marketing and you either don't have enough leads coming in, or you've got leads coming in and they're not enrolling with you, it's not a marketing problem. It's going to be a messaging problem, or what we're talking about today. And what we see most often than not, it's an enrolling problem. It's a sales constraint. So let's dive into how to empower somebody using life coaching techniques, the psychology of sales, how to empower somebody to purchase when they have all these other options out there. So the first question I want to ask you, Ellie, is what do people buy?
Yeah, so this is a big question. And I think, the biggest thing we have to remember is that people are buying states, right? They are buying a emotion, they are buying their way out of a pain and into a heaven. So they want transformation.
Let me rephrase this. Let's kind of go over this summary right here of what we're talking about. So why do people buy? What people really buy? The states of purchasing, building tension, identifying the gap, and the only solution, your path to victory. So why do people buy? Why do people buy? If you look at economics, any of the academies out there, and colleges and universities, what they're going to say is that, well, people purchase stuff to solve a problem. People purchase stuff to fill an unsatisfied want, need, or desire. People purchase stuff for convenience. And while that all sounds like why people buy things, what are people really buying? And are they buying security? No, not really. That's kind of surface level stuff. What people are really buying, well, I can tell you when they're not buying. Elliot, are they buying your amazing process and how you get to an amazing result?
No, and I think, but we need to identify or ID amazing process. So that would be the how you fix someone or how you deliver it to someone, or let's say you have a program, it's how fancy your program is. They are not buying those things.
Right. They're not buying your amazing process. They're not buying your incredible offer. They're not buying you. Definitely not buying you. They're definitely not buying your company. They're definitely not buying your brand, your logo, your tagline, anything like that. They're not buying your testimonials. So if they're really not buying a solution to a problem, if they're not really buying an unsatisfied want, need, or desire, or convenience, security, and they're not buying any of these things, what do people really buy? People buy states of being. And there are two states of being. There is surface and there is emotional. And you can think of this as the end result on these two different levels. And to put it in a different way, everybody you speak to, every human being on the planet, we have a current situation and a desired situation, right? And in each of those, we have two states. We have a surface level state and we have an emotional state. And when the path of least resistance from the current situation to the desired situation is your offer, someone will buy. Somebody will buy. Now, here's a great example in the wellness space. If you've got out there and you've got a migraine headache, right? So surface level, pain, right? On the emotional level, it's discomfort, right? It's causing me a lot of anxiety. I can't get stuff done. I'm not being productive. I can't take care of the kids. So here, the path of least resistance would be Advil, short term, no headache, and all of a sudden life becomes easy. Another great example would be, coffee, Vinny lattes, right? So many people out there, they're tired, they're groggy, they're unproductive, right? Surface level stuff. They drink the coffee, all of a sudden they're alert, happy, emotional level stuff, productive. So what people are purchasing here is they are purchasing emotional states. Now, it is important to understand that, yes, people absolutely buy surface level destinations, but they end up purchasing based on the emotional destination they believe they can reach. Let me say that again. People purchase based on the emotional destination they believe they can reach. So when we're working, for example, like with a weight loss client, and I'll give some weight loss examples here in a minute, nobody wants to buy weight loss. What people want to buy is what weight loss gives them. And on a surface level, it's like it gives them the ability to wear skinny jeans. But what does that skinny jeans give them emotionally? Right? It makes them feel more attractive. It makes them feel like they can get out there and get more respect. It makes them feel like they can do all these things. So what's really interesting here is when we're looking at emotions, the number one emotional state purchased out of all of them, this is the umbrella, is free will. And it's freedom of choice, especially in the wellness industry. So I want you to think about it like this. If I'm overweight, if I'm normally 180 pounds, but now I'm 320 pounds, which we see often, do I have the free will to do whatever I want to do when I want to do it? No, I don't. I'm limited because my body will not go to where I want it to go. If I've got rheumatoid arthritis, do I have the free will to go running if I want to? I do not have that because my knees hurt too bad. I'm being limited by a condition I don't have control over. So even though somebody wants to lose weight, right? And they may never run a marathon. They may never do a Spartan race. They may never climb Everest. They may never go to walking to the mall. They may never ride a bike. But the option to do that is more important than being overweight. Does that make sense, Elea?
Mm-hmm.
So free will, that's the number one emotional state. And under free will, it breaks down into 6 categories. And these are the 6 human needs that Tony Robbins came up with ages ago. And those 6 are certainty, significance, growth, contribution, love and connection, and variety. And certainty and significance are the top 2 because you can't have growth without certainty and significance. You can't have contribution without them. You can't have love and connection without them. You can't have variety without them. And a lot of people would think that variety is at the bottom when variety is honestly probably number 3, in my opinion. And that is because variety is free will. The variety to do things that I want to do. So far, so good?
Yep.
All right. So without certainty and significance, none of these things really matter. So they are the 2 most powerful. So when we're speaking to somebody, if we can hit certainty, and we can hit significance, some amazing things will happen. So let's continue with the weight loss example. So let's say the current situation is inconsistent sleep, energy, and productivity, right? So they're uncertainty. They have anxiety that comes from not knowing where the next paycheck is coming from. They don't know if they're a walking heart attack, anxiety that they'll be out promoted or fired, meaning someone else is going to be promoted over them because they're overweight. Lack of significance. Others think poorly of them. Lack of love and connection. Spouse and family is distressed about their health, pressuring them to figure it out. Lack of growth, exactly where they were a year ago or possibly worse. Lack of contribution. They're passionate about what to do, but productivity has declined. Lack of variety. Ability to choose daily activities is limited by their health problem. Now, I should have a second column here. It looks like it bounced to another page. And so then we move over to the desired situation. On the surface, well, then it would be consistent sleep, energy, and productivity. Emotionally, well, certainty, the anxiety goes away that they know where their next paycheck is coming from. They know that they're not a walking heart attack. They know that everything's good. Significance, they're getting respect. Others are thinking highly of them. Love and connection. Family loves and appreciates and supports them. Growth, right? So if they're not growing, lack of growth, exactly where they were a year ago or possibly worse, now they're better than last year and they are growing. Contribution, more impact, variety. They've got free will, ability to choose those daily activities. So what we want to do, understanding why people buy is so important because they really are buying an emotional state. And how do we get them to purchase based on that emotional state, understand what that emotional state is? Elea, any guess other than it's sitting right there?
Yeah, it's as you say, it's the tension, it's the internal pressure. It is, really making sure that people can see their situation clearly. And this is really, really important when it comes to health offers. And I think this is something that's way overlooked when we're talking about selling a health offer. And that is when people have been struggling with a chronic illness due to lifestyle. They often have either gotten used to and normalized feeling bad, or they're sugarcoating how bad they feel just because it's what they've been doing to get through the day. So it's really, really important that when we're talking to potential patients and clients is that we understand and can pinpoint for them that internal pressure and also really point out and make sure they understand, that this isn't something that they should have to settle for anymore.
Exactly. And for those of you who's just joining us, we are talking about empowering people to buy. This is all about sales psychology, and this is part 1 in a series that we're doing. So if we know that people buy on emotional states, They do buy surface level stuff, but if they're really buying an emotional state, like I'm not buying weight loss, right? Losing 50 pounds is surface level.
Mm-hmm.
What I'm buying is what weight loss actually gives me. And I'm not buying being able to fit in my skinny jeans or fit in smaller clothes. What I'm buying is the emotion that gives me by being able to do that and go do things I normally wouldn't do by being overweight. So in order to empower somebody to make the best decision for themselves, and what we want them to realize that it's more risky to stay where they are than it is to change by hiring a functional or integrated practitioner like yourself, we want to build massive tension. And this is what we call internal pressure, right? But we want this to be a healthy internal tension versus external pressure. So let's define what internal versus external is. Internal pressure, well, it's being pressured to do something for your own reasons, right? You're the cause. External pressure is being pressured to do something for someone else's reasons. Now, most of us have had experience, and raise your hand if you've ever felt external pressure to buy something before. Elea, give me an example.
Gosh, going to a car lot.
Okay.
Looking at cars, that always feels like a very pressured situation.
Okay. There are a lot of tactics out there that people use in order to exert external pressure. Now, if you followed any type of marketing thing, you're going to hear using scarcity in your marketing is a very, very good way to get people to take action. There is integrity, high ethical integrity scarcity, but then there's external pressure scarcity. And external pressure scarcity shows up in the following ways. It can show up as in like fast action discounts. It's like, okay, you've got 72 hours to make a decision. And if you come back to us, it's going to be another $20,000. That kind of thing. That's external pressure. That stuff, when delivered in that type of format with that type of tonality and body language, it's external pressure. People will buy in spite of you. But then what ends up happening is you will usually have a very high complaint rate, low review rate on sites you don't have control over, and usually a very high refund rate down the road because there's a lot of buyer's remorse. So incentive-based pricing can also exert external pressure if it's not carefully done. I'm not saying it can't be done, it just needs to be carefully done. Being told if they don't do something, it's going to get worse, which I've seen a lot of practitioners do, right? They have a come to Jesus moment. They try to do this and it just makes somebody feel crappy. It's like they're not doing it for their own internal reasons. So you can have both internal and strategically planned external pressure, but you always want more internal than external. And the one thing, you can never have too much internal pressure. You can never build too much internal pressure when you're speaking to somebody. So the question becomes, how do we build internal pressure? How do we build that internal tension in somebody? How do we exert what I call the inception concept? So was it the movie Inception with Leonardo, where they basically went into someone's dreams and they incepted an idea to make them think like it was their own?
Yep.
Well, we're kind of doing that, but we're not manipulating reality, right? We're not manipulating the dream. We're simply using questioning to elicit the reality of what's really going on in a very loving way. So we like to use SAMOS. And if you haven't heard of SAMOS before, it's specific, amazing, measurable outcomes. So the more precise we can get, and numbers are basically what we're really talking about here. Anytime we can use a measurement device, weight is a great one. How much did you weigh in college? 120. How much do you weigh now? 250. Where do you want to be? I'd love to be at 150. Okay, cool. We've got numbers. We can work with numbers. How much did you make last year? $10. How much do you want to make? 100,000. Okay, we've got numbers. What's your profit margin? 6%, which we see a lot of people with integrative companies. Where do you want to be? I'd like to be at 25, 30, 40%. Okay. Specific, amazing, measurable outcomes. What's your A1C score? 11.2. This is a real case study that we work with somebody. Where do you want to be? I'd like to be pre-diabetic or less. Okay, cool. We've got numbers. This is how we build internal pressure. Now, when we can clearly define the current state versus the desired state, the bigger the distance, or what we call the gap, is between point A, hell, and point B, heaven. So let me restate that. Current situation, when somebody has a problem, it's a daily hell for them. And what we want to do is we want to give a vivid description of where they are so we really understand the problem. Point B is the destination. That's the desired situation you want to go to. This is what life would be like if this problem was fixed. It's better. It's heaven. The more visual we can make those two, the bigger that gap is and the mountains in between them are taller. And so they see that it's very tough to get there on their own or with other options out there other than yours. Does that make sense? So what we want to do is we want to paint a crystal clear picture of what Hell Island looks like versus Heaven Island. The clearer the picture, the more we can see, feel the space in between, the bigger the gap. That perception gap is what we're really looking to fill. That there's no gap in perception, that they see, okay, this is a big difference here. I've been trying to get there. I really want to get there. How do I get there? And I think it's really important. Ellie, you can stack on this from a life coaching standpoint. Like, people are intrinsically motivated to resolve internal tension. Would you agree?
Yeah, absolutely. But again, the only way you're going to achieve that is if you talk less and listen more.
Yes.
And ask powerful questions.
Yes. So when you, and what she's talking about is when you empower them through proper conversation, they're going to resolve the internal pressure by purchasing your offer. That's how this works. So tips on clearly defining the hell versus heaven, the two islands, the two destinations that we want to go to, right? We got point A, we got point B. And your offer, your process is the GPS to get them there, which we're going to call the path to victory here in a second. So SAMA, specific, amazing, measurable outcomes. Defining each with numbers and specific detail. Current versus desired income, current versus desired weight, current versus desired A1C score, current versus desired cholesterol, current occupation, freedom level versus desired occupation and freedom level. Amount of, if you're dealing with energy and fatigue, people are like, oh, well, how do you measure that? Well, you can measure it in free time, like productivity. Current free time versus desired free time, what they want to do, how long it takes them to do stuff, how much quality of life do they have, current relationship versus desired relationship. If you can't use numbers, you can elicit specific details, and you can use scales, like on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being horrible, 10 being great. Where's your anxiety right now? Like, you can use all kinds of ways to elicit a specific detail and get something concrete that the subconscious can lock onto. Because if we're using amorphous terms and we're just using adjectives, it's really hard for people to understand where they are in point A, hell, and where they want to go point B, heaven. Make sense? So it's all about having the prospect paint a crystal clear portrait in their mind, right? What you can see, think, feel, touch, smell. What's the day-to-day look like? And you can say things like, hey, take me back to the day where you drew the line in the sand, decided what it was time to drop the weight. What was that like? What was the worst part about that? Walk me through what happened. So using both details and numbers, the more specific we get, the more emotional the connection will be. Make sense? Right on.
And I think what's important here too, Adam, is looking at, a lot of the clients that we work with, we have people that are just getting started, but also people that, have busy practices, and they have someone at the front basically doing a lot of their sales process. And I think what's really important is, no matter whether you're just getting started or whether you have somebody at a front desk, bringing in new clients and patients, these are some key core things to really think about when you're having conversations with people, because it can just take little nuances. It's not like you would have to apply all of this or teach, your front desk exactly how to do this. But if you just took little nuggets from this, right, and really allowed that to sink in, of like the type of undertone and theme of the conversations that you want to be having with people, it can be really, really powerful. If you just pick out one of these things, like even if you just chose, okay, in my next 5 conversations, I'm going to really hone in on helping this potential client or patient have more certainty in our ability to help them, and also their ability to be able to overcome this and show up. Really, really key.
Very key. And the key here is to be the path to victory, the only option to get to heaven, right? The only option to get to the desired situation. Once you elicit the hell in the heaven, current versus desired situation, the prospect is going to want to take action in resolving that tension, right? They are going to want to take action. However, just because the prospect wants to take action doesn't mean he or she will take action with you. So the key right here is, after we've built that tension, is to build a path to victory. And this is not your amazing process. This is not, hey, we're going to work in your microbiome, then we're going to do kettlebell swings kind of thing. This is a path of victory. It's a series of mini transformations that becomes the path of least resistance and eliminates all other potential routes. And I'm going to go back to weight loss. How many options do we have, Elea, to lose weight?
Endless.
Endless. It is the largest segment of the wellness industry. It's the largest segment of the health industry. It is probably one of the most common symptoms, other than maybe fatigue, when it comes to disease and dysfunction. And there are more options, and it's cutthroat to lose weight. You have everything from the latest supplement to the latest electronic gadget to the latest meditation to the latest yoga practice, latest gym, latest workout hits, all this stuff and everything in between. You have more options than anything else. So it's ultimately critical that your path becomes superior to those other options, meaning that it's going to be strong. And I'm going to give you an example here in just a second, illustrate this. So I want to make sure before we go into this illustration, this amazing thing that I built below, that we understand the 4 goals of any conversation in a sales process. So some salespeople will just say 1 and 4 are the only 2 you need to worry about. Identify they have a problem you can fix and eliminate objections before the investment or sale. In our experience, there are 4 of them. 1, you want to identify, do they have a problem you can actually fix? Because if you can't help them, then you can't help them, period. 2, does the person understand the truth of the problem? And that is what is going to happen if they don't get help, if they don't get on the right path to victory. Is heaven going to be attainable, or is hell going to get worse? And usually hell's going to get worse. So what we're doing is they understand the truth of the problem, and we're creating that emotional gap. Not just an emotional gap, but a solid, big emotional gap where they can see the 2 destinations. It's kind of looking at like a Google map, right? But they just don't know how to get there yet, or they don't know the quickest way to get there. Number 3, you want to make sure that you're certain about their character. That basically means you're going to love working with them. Because what happens, Ellie, if you enroll somebody into your business or bring somebody into your business and you know that they might not be very fun to work with?
Yeah, it's not a good fit for them, and it's not a good fit for you.
It bites you in the butt.
Mm-hmm.
Always. It always bites you in the butt. It becomes absolutely just a disaster down the road. So you want to make sure that you're going to like working with them, because I've seen a lot of people, they've got a problem, they understand the problem, they want to enroll, but the person, the coach or the functional doctor or the nurse practitioner or the nutritionist or the dietitian or the physical therapist is like, I don't know, but man, we could really use that sale right now and really use some clients or some patients coming in. So they enroll them and then it just becomes a nightmare. So we want to make sure they've got certainty. Number 4, eliminate objections before the investment and sale. So we want to identify the roadblocks. So let's take a look at this. So if we got current situation here on the left, this is the hell. We got the desired situation heaven. We painted that. All these lines are different options to get to the desired situation. And many times with just about any health or wellness offer out there, any disease or dysfunction, and I'm going to stick with weight loss since that's our theme for the day, most people have tried these paths. Some of them look straight, but then they fall off the cliff or they fall into an ocean or they just doesn't get them to where they want to be. Some of them are a lot more complex and sidewindy, but doesn't take them to where they think they're going. So we need to make sure that your path to victory is rock solid. It's a straight line. It's strong. It's going to get them where they're going to be. They're not going to fall off. It's well guarded. It's secure. Now, these little blocks right here, these are roadblocks. These are obstructions that are normally laying on your path to victory. People are not going to purchase from you or buy your offer if they perceive there are roadblocks along the way. And that is certainty. And one thing that we just need to make sure of is that all objections are based off of certainty. We're going to talk about that here in a second. So how do we do this? 1, make crystal clear what the current situation is and the desired situation. Make your path to victory superior. Remove the roadblocks. Remove the objections. Now, what I want to note here, I kind of talked about a second ago, is other than financial conditions, meaning they simply do not have the resources to pay you and get started. Other than financial conditions, every objection out there is uncertainty based. They don't enroll with you. They don't move forward. It doesn't matter what they say. Money objections, I don't see the value. Time objections, I'm uncertain it's going to work. Spouse objections, it's uncertainty. Think about it. I got to go check your reviews. I got to talk to your clients. These are all uncertainty-based objections. So it's absolutely imperative that once you identify the emotional state that they want to get to, you build that internal tension, that you build your path to victory, you make it superior by making it custom to them while being ethical and doing it with integrity.
And I think, I'm not sure if we mentioned this, but path to victory, just think about it as this. It's how you're going to help someone, right?
This is your process.
Yep, your
right?
process.
But there's a way to explain the process and a way not to explain the process. And
Yes.
most people we see explain it the wrong way, make people confused, make them uncertain, make them go, oh, I've heard this before. And then they do not move forward. They do not purchase. And that's when people go, well, if I just lower my price, and they get stuck in low ticket transactional models, right? That makes sense. Okay. So clearly, and then number 4, once you remove the roadblocks, you want to disarm the objections. You want to remove the obstacles. You want to remove the roadblocks before you even start talking about investing with you. It is imperative that you do that. If you don't do that, you're going to get people walking away and not paying you. You want to clearly show that your path to victory is the safest, strongest, and fastest out there. So in today's session, we are talking about empowering people to buy. This is not about pounding them over the head with a sales commission baseball bat. This is not about scaring them into buying. This is not about using external pressure, doing it because you want them to do it. This is about creating internal pressure because they want to do it, making a change because they want to, empowering them in order to do that. And Elea, how do we build that tension? How do we build that gap? How do we build that superior path to victory? And we do that by strategic questioning.
Mm-hmm.
Strategic questioning.
Yes. And questions that go deeper than surface level, questions that really have the potential buyer just like thinking about their problem from a different perspective, and or allowing them to really vocalize all the things that have been going on, and letting them hear themselves talk about the problem is really important. And most people that we see say, okay, I'm going to talk to you about me and my services and all the things that I have going on, and then you can decide if you want to come in, versus, hey, let's talk about you and then let's decide if this is the right fit for you.
Yeah. So this is all about sales psychology, understanding why people buy what they buy. So at this point, we know that people buy in results. They buy states. People do not buy a solution to a problem. They do not buy something to fill a desire, a need, or a want. Well, I guess you could say an emotional desire, an emotional need. That could be true. They don't buy security. They don't buy these things. What they buy are logical and emotional states, surface level states and emotional states. Surface level, I want to lose weight. Surface level, I want to lower my blood sugar. Surface level, I want to do this, right? That's surface level. And it's important that we do honor those, but they're really buying that emotional state. The more clearly we define the current and desired situation, the more tension we create, because we're creating this gap, right? We're creating this really strong gap, and they don't know how to get there. And remember, internal tension means the tension, the pressure comes from them. It's their idea. It's not someone else's idea for them to change. It's because they want to change. And when we have internal intention, it intrinsically compels people to take action to resolve it. And the way we get them to take action with us is to, one, to understand their problem, not just understand their problem, their current situation, but understand where they want to go, what their desired situation is on an emotional level and a logical level. Then build a custom path to victory. Then we want to make that path to victory superior, the strongest, most certain for success. So certainty is no longer an issue. We want to make all other options obsolete. And we want to remove those roadblocks and eliminate all objections before the close, basically before we get to the investment. We want to do that. So that's how you're going to, or this is kind of like the 101 of sales principles. It's like, this is what you need to know before you go into any conversation. I think so many people go in there not realizing why people buy. Mm-hmm. Would you agree, Elea?
Yeah, absolutely. This isn't, for most of the people that we work with, sales is not a skill that they have been either taught or are currently honing or any of these things. And so I think it's a much needed place for all health and wellness experts.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So in upcoming series, we're going to be talking about how to cover this in a one-on-one conversation, especially, how prospects come to the conclusion that working with you is the path of least resistance. And there is a belief ladder that I did not create, that comes from somebody else. We'll talk about that we must really go down or up in order to make that happen. And as we're talking about advanced enrollment skills, and we're talking about how to close more people and how to, enroll them to more of their dreams, if you need help getting more of the right people saying yes to the right price, we invite you to come over to movethinksmile.com/demo. And I'll even put it up here down in the corner. If you're a current Move Think Smile member and you're watching this, go over to checkpoint 5, optimizing zone number 3, optimizing enrollments for advanced stuff. This is where a lot of the stuff is going. And we just wanted to share this with everybody in the group for 2024 because we want you to really understand and have a jump start on the next time that you think about your business, whether you're thinking about the structure, whether you're thinking about, okay, what does my pricing need to look like? What does my program need to look like? Should I be doing the one-on-one? Should I be doing group? Should I be doing hybrid? Whether you're thinking about messaging, it's like, what am I supposed to say to people to get them to really understand what it is I do? Next thing, you're thinking about marketing. Instead of going out there and having, 30 tripwires and lead magnets and all this stuff that all you're attracting are information seekers, what we really want to do is attract solution seekers.
Mm-hmm.
And the way we do that is understand how to empower people. And empowering people to buy is by understanding the psychology of sales and understanding that it is an emotional state that they're really purchasing. And that's what we want to elicit on an enrollment conversation, but we want to elicit it in every stage of the business. So when you're looking at all the different sections, structure, messaging, marketing, enrolling, you want to make sure that this is at the forefront. Elliot, on top of that, any other life coaching tips you can throw in there? You're an expert at really empowering people to figure out, which is the whole premise of life coaching, how to make the best decision for themselves.
Yeah, again, I think, as I've already said, really comes back to the level of questions that you're asking. And I think for most of the people that I see, especially if it's a health practitioner with an established business, is they do a great job of doing in-depth questions with, say, intake forms or questionnaires, but we're not really asking in-depth enough about the different ways in which it ripples out into their life, and really getting a big, clear picture of how these symptoms are impacting their daily life, how they're impacting their relationships, their work, things like that. And so I think, the thing that I would say is just go deeper with your questioning. And some people are like, I don't know if I should, ask that. But again, remember, people will really open up to you if you ask questions that no other expert has asked them.
And
It
I do want to
immediately,
go ahead.
well, I was going to say, just immediately raises you in someone's eyes when you're asking a question of an expert, right? And they ask you a question and you're like, wow, nobody's ever asked me that before. Maybe this is the key. And so it also sparks intrigue that you have something that someone else does not.
It's also very important, not the question you ask, but how you asked a question.
Yes.
So if you look at communications, 30% of communications between a human being are the words you use. 70% are tonality and body language. So it's very important that you learn how to not only ask the right questions, because if you don't ask the right question, doesn't matter how good your tonality and your body language is. That's number one. But if you can ask the right question, but if you ask it in slightly the wrong way, or slightly with the weirdest off body language, or slightly with a different tonality, even though your heart is at best and you mean the best and your intentions are there, they're not going to move forward. And so if you would like to really up your enrollment skills, we invite you to come over to movethinksmile.com/demo, and we can talk about and share the frameworks that we use, our impact-driven profit systems, where we do look at every feature of the business. Now, some businesses we work with, we don't even need to mess with the structure or the messaging and the marketing, but we really need to work with the enrolling. And that's why we were doing this session today. Yeah. Other people that we work with, well, they need a lot of help with the structure because they're stuck in a transactional model. They're trading time for money and they're not able to have the impact they want. And so again, Move Think Smile is about taking your business So you can get out there and transform someone's life while saving them tens of thousands of dollars over traditional healthcare. So you're putting hundreds of thousands of dollars, literally, and I can talk about that later, back in their pocket while you're giving them better quality of life. And at the same time, your company has an extremely healthy bottom line. And a lot of our clients annually are putting at least $116,400 into the bottom line. That's net. That's not gross, that's net. And I want you to think about that. If you'd at all like to explore possibly adding a six-fig net to your bottom line, an additional, come on over to movethinksmile.com demo and speak to one of our impact specialists. On that note, Elliot, any other parting shots for today on empowering people to purchase in the sales psychology?
No, I think we covered a lot today. So just really curious, if, whenever you're watching this, pop your comments in the chat box, something maybe that you're taking away from this that was really helpful, and any questions that you have. So,
all right, guys, we'll see you next time. Put your comments below, and Happy New Year once again. Take care.